Welcome viewers. It has been a long time that we had next episode of our security leadership discussion. No specific reasons, but then giving a break is always beneficial, because next time when such things are done again, these are with more commitment, more dedication, and fresher outlook. And when we talk about fresher outlook, it cannot be fresher than what we are going to discuss today with the expert speaker, Arun Prakash. Arun Prakash is a known personality, known security professional, and amongst the fraternity, he is considered to be the brightest star. Welcome, Arun. And today we are discussing with Arun how to build a successful security team. He himself built a very successful security team. Arun Prakash, as of now, leads the security operations and investigations for Microsoft in India, Sri Lanka, and Bangladesh. An army veteran, Arun has worked across different organizations such as Infosys, Flipkart, and LinkedIn in past, and he managed their security programs. Arun is CPP, CFE, CBCP certified, and holds a general management certificate from IIM Bangalore. He is also an active member of ICISS, ACFE, and DRI USA. He is recipient of Microsoft Real Estate and Security Business Excellence Award in 2019 and LinkedIn Bravo Award Take Intelligent Risk in 2016. He received Microsoft Q4 Financial Year 21 Finance Award in the year 2021. Viewers, this discussion is organized by ICISS, International Council for Industrial Security and Safety Management, which is in forefront in professionalizing the security professionals. You are once again welcome, Arun, and it has been my privilege and pleasure to have known you, interacted with you, and today on this forum, I formally welcome you. You have been successful in corporate world. You have been successful in armed forces also. Bright and shining career in both the fields. As a veteran, you know that when we talk about personal management, the formal training institutes talk about two schools of personal management, in which Army School of Personal Management scores very high marks. So let's start with knowing your ideas, how a successful team is built, such as yours. What are the ingredients?
Sure. Thank you, Captain Tyagi, for a great introduction and having me here. Good evening, good morning, everyone. So, in this topic, let me start with my own personal experience and probably take some examples here and there to have a better understanding and learning of how I evolved my leadership style as well as the team building within my team. So, the first and foremost essence in team building is knowing your organization. I'm sure most of you are aware of this requirement that you need to understand your business or know your business, right? So, we need to understand what we need to protect and what we need to safeguard. That is super important and super critical at every stage of your team building, starting from your budget, starting from your hiring to the entire life cycle of your team. So knowing the purpose, knowing the requirement of the business is super important. For example, a security team requirement for an R&D is completely different from a security requirement for an educational institution. So we need to understand the business, their priorities of what they want to safeguard. I think that is the first and foremost thing for building a team. The second important thing I feel is the culture of your company. And that is, again, a super important ingredient to understand what kind of culture uh, the organization imbibes, right? Because that is going to be a direct, there is going to be a direct correlation between that and the nature of your team that you're going to build, right? Uh, and also, the employee experience plays a very important part of the culture. So understanding your employee behaviors in terms of what they want and what is the culture that is going well within your organization is super important in developing your team. So the three major ingredients, even before you set up a team, is understanding your business, understanding your organizational culture, and also understanding your employee culture. So these are the three foremost ingredients I feel that as a leader and as a manager one needs to understand, Captain Tyagi.
Right, Arun, when we build a team, members may come from very diverse background, their economic background, their cultural background, their ethnic background. They eat differently, they speak differently, but there is element which binds them together. For you, which is that element which is most important and very strong binding factor?
Yeah, that's a great question, Captain Tyagi. So, coming to what I feel is a very important ingredient in a team is the people factor, right? Uh, there has been a lot of importance in structures, in processes, in protocols, in priorities, but I think uh, the most important, valuable part of any team is the people. So investing in understanding your people is the next important step after you understand the organization's culture and mission. When I say understanding your people, you need to understand, as you rightly said, we need to have a very diverse team, and statistics and case studies have revealed that a diverse team shows better results. And also, the ability to find an error is much faster than a traditional conservative team. So it is very important to have a diverse team from all walks of life, different age profiles, demographics, so that you get a holistic perspective of the problem statement. And this has happened to me when I started my corporate career almost a decade back, uh, transitioning from the army, especially, right? So the problem solving attitude and ability, uh, I would say, at least in my personal case, is kind of linear in a particular mindset. And then it took me a lot of time to understand that a linear mindset definitely may not help you in every scenarios and every conditions. You need to improvise, you need to adapt, and sometimes the problem statement also evolves. So it is always good to have a set of diverse opinions from different backgrounds. And this has helped me personally to kind of get these inputs from my team members, my peers, with diverse backgrounds. Uh, I would also like to include that when you are managing a diverse background, there are some elements of team operations that you need to ensure as a manager that is available for everyone, right? So the first thing is a clear understanding that everybody has a voice to speak. That is super important in a diverse background because in my experience I've seen that again, we have different types of personalities in the team, and some of them are upcoming, and they offer initiatives and ideas. And then you will find a set of people who need to be nudged, or we need to be kind of trickle down to kind of get them activated. So understanding your people type is important so that you enable them to contribute to the betterment of the team. So that is, you may not have a one size fits all approach in leadership anymore. And I think I personally believe that you need to have a more customized version of leadership for different personalities to get the best of everyone. So Building a diverse team is again an evolving process. Sometimes you may get it right. Sometimes you may miss, a perspective. It is not. It's not a scenario where I've ever felt that I know it all. So it is important to kind of constantly think and evolve. Whether the team is, comfortable, whether they are having a very conducive environment to work operate, whether all the communication channels are open, whether the communication is going freely, both vertical and horizontal, whether they're able to speak their mind, whether they're able to give their opinion without the fear of retaliation or the fear of what people may think. That is the most important factor to develop in a team, because uh, once the team is comfortable in interoperating within themselves and with the manager and with the organization, the results are bound to come, right? So we may not be, my learning, the biggest learning is that there's no point of chasing the result first. Instead of that, getting the right team and the right environment will naturally get you there.
As veteran, you understand that in armed forces, being a leader is easy. You have a uniform, you have a rank, there is a hierarchy, and there are authorities already very clearly defined. Chain of command is very easy to understand, and it is visible also. Coming from that veterans mindset to corporate mindset, now here things have changed. In your team, there might be slackers and shammers and those who are incapable of meeting the timeline. The challenges are multifold, and failing is not an option here also, because consequences are very, very heavy. So how you keep either your team members disciplined or motivated, and either way, it is the performing team. So either you discipline them, and if you are a different type of leader, then you try to motivate them. Ultimately, you have to have a performing team. How difficult or how easy is it?
Again, a very interesting question. So my opinion on this, Captain Tyagi, is uh, you know especially this generation, and the early 20, the early 30 folks who are coming to work in corporate. The old leadership style may not be the most effective model in kind of managing a team, gaining respect, or any of the parameters of getting a thing done, right? So the fear of retaliation or fear of punishment may not be the most effective team managing or team building principle, is my opinion. Uh, my belief and my strategy has always been that you have to make them as believers. You have to make your team believe the same mission or the same dream as you. The moment you achieve that, they become more self-propelled, self-disciplined, and they kind of generate the interest and energy to kind of finish to an extent that you need not have superimposive. You need not literally monitor them for anything. What time they come, what time they go, what are they doing today, what are they going to do tomorrow. Uh, this is not a sustainable model, right? So let's say that we have one site, we have 100 sites, we have 1,000 sites. We may not be able to kind of have this model replicated. And also, uh, the entire essence of team is trust. So unless this is both in the services as well as corporate, right? So you need to trust one another in your team, and I would still say that all the investment of your time and effort should go in kind of building that right culture and the right communication for everyone to kind of be honest, transparent, and share whatever they feel. That is super important. How do I keep my team disciplined? I do not keep my team disciplined. It is all, we always believe in being equally accountable, right? Uh, so everybody acts like an owner. Every team member of mine is responsible and takes responsibility for his or her actions, and that will only come when you do not have a retaliatory or a punishment based outcome, right? So let's say something goes wrong at any, you know, eventually something is going to go wrong no matter how best you perform. So when something goes wrong, how you stand with your team or how do you approach that entire situation is the most important factor for actually kind of creating the right environment and message to your team. And trust me, once you kind of have this model enabled, the team from there on would realize the passion and commitment that everybody has or everybody takes on behalf of each other. So once they all become self-aware, then you actually do not require any kind of regulatory or supervisory mechanism for day-to-day activities at all. I mean, everybody are self-aware of what they have to do and how they have to perform. So uh, the initial transition has been a little challenging from a complete different leadership style to a more of a democratic leadership style. But I've realized that this is the most effective and the best way possible for us to lead teams in corporate.
Arun, probably you are on Maslow's laws, third stage, self-actualization. But there would be members who just started their profession, those who are still learning the tricks of the trade, and keeping them always engaged on learning curve is also not very easy. So how do you keep your team members trained and retrained and give their orientation? So what kind of program and schedule you maintain?
Right. So I've actually taken a lot of inputs from our army days of the buddy system and mentorship. Uh, so the most important benefit of mentorship is you kind of have a very clear career path in terms of where you stand, and the mentor helps you to kind of define your future path, uh, where you're struggling, or what are the areas you need to improve. So mentorship program is something that I strongly believe in. It has personally helped me a lot, and I also encourage all my team members to pick up mentors. Not only within the security industry, it can be business managers, business leaders, anyone, right? So because everybody has a perspective of your personality or how you kind of deliver things. So it is always good to have another pair of optics on how you deliver. So mentorship is something that I strongly encourage within my team. The second thing that we do is we have a buddy system wherein we have some of the senior managers, and then we have some of the young folks who join us. So we kind of pair up buddies for kind of more like a shadowing program that they understand, day-to-day operations and stakeholder engagements and the communication styles of our function, and thereon they take the next step. There have been challenges, there have been struggles, but that is the best part of learning, right? So in my experience, I've seen that some of the newcomers who completely come with a fresh pair of optics have given some of the most valuable insights and opinion about something that we have been traditionally doing for almost a decade. So we don't discount on anybody's opinion or anybody's statement, but we try to kind of understand, give the merits of that particular statement, and see if that is better for us.
Very paradoxical change is in response which I noticed. I asked similar question to another army veteran, and very cleverly he said that, look, Tyagi, I got limit on giving awards, but I do not have limit on giving punishments. So that is how I keep my team motivated. So in that context, I would say that learning is easy, unlearning is very difficult. So keeping few good things learned in your army career are going to pay good dividends. But still being trapped by the mindset and also the aura of being army officer, armed forces officer, sometimes is very detrimental in corporate career. So how would you suggest others also to keep good things intact and leave the heavy baggage behind? What actually you did in this case?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I share my experience to some of the veterans who pass out after their commission. So the transition is going to be at least a decade back. It was a little difficult, but today you have a lot of material, lot of content all around the world, right? On your military to corporate transition, or understanding the corporate ways of working, etc. But I think the simple logic or rationale that I've learned through my first boss and my mentor, Captain Kamath, is that if you do not know something, you just you need to just ask. Always he used to say, you need to just ask. Do not assume. Do not pretend. Do not assume. You need to just ask. Why it is relevant is sometimes, as you said, some of the veterans come out with a know-it-all mindset, and then try to kind of look at the corporate with the same pair of eyes, with that I know it all. And that unfortunately does not work most of the times, right? Because uh, we are working with people. We're not working with machines. We are working with people, and there are bound to be conflicts on this. So the first thing that I actually was fortunate to kind of understand this was my mentor asking me to encouraging me to ask questions if you don't know something, and also asking for critical feedback. That is super important, to ask for feedback from anybody, your colleague, your peer, your manager, to say that, hey, am I doing something right, or do you think I'm aggressive, or I'm very subtle, or these things is super important during your initial transition stage, wherein you need to kind of hit your right leadership style in corporate. So you can afford to kind of miss here and there, and then kind of get to your leadership style. And the second most important thing that I'm still learning is, again, our CEO Satya always talks about this, is the growth mindset. And he talks about a fixed mindset versus growth mindset. So that is a very important parameter for all of us in Microsoft. And also, the best part is he is applied this in his personal life also, and then he has said that it is worked wonders in both in his professional and personal life. So that again is a very important tool for the veterans who are passing out, to have a growth mindset. And as you rightly said, unlearning is going to be a challenge, but it is not impossible. So you need to kind of consciously unlearn your bias as well as what you think you know, and then that is when you actually create the right space for kind of having more relevant information that is going to help you in the short to mid term. So carrying a growth mindset, and I strongly believe that people will understand, right? Veterans who are joining the corporate, it's just a matter of time that they understand uh, what works and what doesn't. But people who struggle the most in a corporate environment is people with a fixed mindset, right? That they want everything to change as per their mindset, is where people struggle. So as long as you're carrying a growth mindset, and open to learn and keep asking questions, anyone, that's going to help in a smoother transition.
Critical feedback you mentioned, and getting feedback itself is not very easy thing, because if you are taking feedback from your juniors, it is maybe exaggerated, maybe with generosity, or maybe with the awe in your leadership. They will not give you honest feedback. Peers feedback with pinch of salt. because again, the reasons. So getting real feedback is very difficult. I today can share with my viewers and especially with you that I worked in Gale India Limited, and it was very harebrained idea of a director who just attended a training program. I think it was from McKinsey about feedback. So they would invite executive over lunch. So three, four directors and CMD included having lunch in their VVIP dining hall, and a person is invited for the purpose of taking feedback over lunch. It was considered to be very informal discussion over lunch. But the one who is invited would go there either after taking his own lunch or come back and then take lunch, because atmosphere was not as conducive as it turned out to be. So later on, one of the director asked me that how did you like that feedback system I introduced? I said, and I had the liberty to say that it was very stupid idea. So how to get feedback is again very important thing. For the benefit of our viewers, can you suggest few methods, your methodology, maybe how to get the honest feedback?
Again, great question. You're absolutely right. Most of the time, the feedback that one receives is either skewed by either the fear of retaliation, or fear of what the other person will think. So more of pacifying rather than actually being critical. So uh, you know, I'm not going to lie that it is going to be 100% easy and straightforward, but constructive feedback is more a cultural thing. It is not it's about the entire ecosystem in which you work. That is when the constructive feedback comes, and feedback doesn't become a weapon of either retaliation or kind of cribbing about what you're not able to say. So constructive feedback only comes when you have a right culture within your team. Like you must assure your subordinates that there is not going to be any fear of retaliation, or there is not going to be any uh, you know grudge against a particular person just because he or she has been critical about uh, your feedback. And I know it is not a direct answer, but people will only feel comfortable to give honest feedback if they feel the above mentioned things that I've said, that they do not have the fear of retaliation, or they genuinely feel that this is going to help someone. A couple of quick, easy tips is having, a confidentiality is the easiest approach one can take, both ends, right? So that the person who's giving the feedback does not have the fear of anything, that his personal information is not known, and also the receiver is just very objective about he or she does not know who it has come from, but just be candid about what is written in that form. And that has been the style of all the surveys and employee pulses and everything today, because feedback, organizations also believe, is the most important requirement or pulse to understand how, as an organization, we are going, whether we are going the right direction, whether people are happy, or we need to change something. So it is an important aspect for every team. Again, structured versus unstructured. The other quick fix is that the moment you make it more structured, people kind of, the language changes. They kind of be very conscious, and it, as you rightly said, becomes uh, uh, more satisfying, right? So what I am talking about is more of an informal feedback, not forms, not ratings, not numbers, but just an informal chat with a peer or someone over a cup of coffee, or during lunch, to just ask that, hey, in this particular thing, what do you think? This was my decision, do you think I could have done better? And these perspectives are honest, brutally honest, and also it kind of does not complicate the entire cycle, right? Like you're sometimes I've personally seen that you get confused on the feedback forms, right? So at the end of the day, uh, some of the metrics do not make sense, right? So rather than that, a very descriptive one-on-one conversation will definitely help you to kind of introspect at some point of time, and see that, yeah, what he said is right, or maybe I should try it, or yeah, maybe he does not understand my context. So it's very easy to actionize subsequently rather than a form.
The team members either are given SOPs or they are given empowerment, delegation of power. Two things again, are contradictory. You have SOPs, and then a good, successful team leader would also empower and delegate the authorities. Is there, inherent contradiction you find here, or will there be possibility of making a balance between these two? Because in security function, making a successful team, I think both ingredients do not go together, or maybe I am wrong.
Yeah. So this paradox between written in black and white versus individual decision, again, I think is super critical in corporate today. So uh, I wouldn't define it as a percentage, but it all depends on what is the risk involved, right? And on one side of the scale, I've seen people blindly following SOPs even without knowing why it is being done, right? I'm sure we would have all crossed paths that the last man standing there is doing something as a legacy for the past 15 years, right? And on the other side, there are so much of these unwritten uh, procedures that are happening, which is working well. I mean, the employees are happy and you're able to kind of negate a problem statement, so it is good. So a blend, to an extent that I would say that the bulk of your processes should be SOP based. That is your 80 70 80% of your daily operation should be SOP based, because you may not have enough resources to kind of dictate or decide on every transaction. So 70 80% of your transactions probably should be process driven, SOPs driven, and then you should still have that 20% of leverage in terms of exceptions, accommodations, or situation based requests. And also, I constantly keep encouraging my team to take decisions, because timely decision is super critical in security, right? And that again comes with the culture, right? That, you take risk. You can take risk. Unless you take risk, you will not learn. So that all comes as part of the culture. If you don't have a culture, if you have a zero tolerance culture, nobody's going to take risk or nobody's going to decide, and that is not going to help us in today's world where risk is so dynamic. It's no longer pure, right? So we need to empower folks on ground, and yes, they would not get it every time right, but that is where, as a manager, you need to develop, train, nurture, be available for them to kind of become better managers of any situation.
Yes, Arun, a successful team uh, remains successful as long as leader keep the entire team engaged positively, motivate them, train them, and engage them in activities they find to be very important. Unfortunately, in security function, we have nothing to show so far as our productivity is concerned, so far as our best performance is concerned. Probably our best performance is that nothing has happened. And since nothing has happened, we have nothing to show. How would you quantify your success? Because ultimately, you need to show something to your management that this is what I achieved.
Yeah. Uh, Very relevant point, Captain Tyagi. So I think, uh, yes, these indicators are very less and very dilute for physical security compared to other functions, where you have a very clear metric or an indicator to show positive or negative trends. And this is the nightmare of every security leader, right? Your budget, your justification for security guards is one of the most challenging exercise for I think everywhere. Uh, and again, I think at the macro level, it is industry specific. Still, I would say supply chain, retail, e-com, their metrics is still kind of you can still kind of have more metrics to kind of showcase and justify. But yes, from a pure corporate security standpoint, our strategy is to say that we believe in prevention rather than taking statistics of how many people died or how many incidents happened. So the strategy is about prevention. And as you rightly said, every situation avoided, you cannot actually put a dollar value to it, right? You cannot put a dollar value to, let's say, your employee, your talent, right? And you cannot put a dollar value to your reputation or your infrastructure or anything. So, in terms of metrics, we have focused exclusively on security awareness and training as an indicator and as a metric. The logic how it works is we believe in empowering the employees. We believe in making employees aware to an extent in safeguarding themselves, right? That is an investment as part of the talent because most of the organizations believe that employees are the most valuable part of the ecosystem, right? So, and security is, available to protect your most valuable resource. And that doesn't mean that security traditionally will only respond for an emergency or at the time of distress be available. You can also think of it on the other side, saying that we spend resources and efforts in creating a lot of employee centric training programs, awareness programs, campaigns, and many things, right? So that the employees kind of get that muscle memory on many of the security practices, procedures, and emergency contact details also, right? As we know that when an emergency happens, most of the people may not even know whom to call or where to call. So that needs to kind of be imbibed as part of the employee culture. So we invest a lot in training and awareness of employees, and that is a very good metric that we have been showcasing to the leadership. And the leadership, again, the leadership also believes in this, right? So the more you kind of empower the employees on security aspects, that is going to kind of reduce the number of internal incidents that are going to happen. It can be anything, right? Starting from a proxy card swipe to a tailgating to any of the internal issues and also a external issue. So we kind of do a very stringent training program at different formats, and that is very important. And the other part of it is that Microsoft in India is a very large organization, and we have more than 10,000 plus employees working across. And creating that uh, security requirements at the site level also is a very good indicator. Like your partnership with your local law enforcement, your compliance requirements, your travel escort, your travel marshal requirements, and all this also become a good indicator because these are compliance driven. Some of them are compliance driven, right? And the leadership understands the value of compliance, and when you scale up, they also understand the complexity of some of these compliance requirements because it sometimes becomes a business risk. So these indicators also sometimes help. But yes, in my personal opinion, I think the justification is easier in retail and your manufacturing and industrial security rather than corporate security. That's my opinion.
So security has traditionally been seen as a cost center because the tangible production or profit figures security department cannot show. So its result card is not tangible, it is not visible. It is not quantifiable. And when self-assessment as part of annual confidential report, one security professional needs to write what he has done. So best comment, I could not think beyond that. Nothing has happened, and that is my best performance. But then again, managements have different ways to look at the security function. How to get the budget approval from the management? It
Yeah.
is a very,
Uh,
very difficult thing, challenging task for security professionals. So, how do you manage to get the budget approvals?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think contextuality is a very important element. So if you see a number in isolation, even the finance may not, So when you're presenting your business case, it is very important for you to kind of give an overall context of the country in which you're operating, right? For example, in your case, as you said, zero incidents. uh, if is it a standalone metric, or is it your city metric, or your state metric, or your country metric, right? So these statistics sometimes help finance, especially the finance team, to kind of understand and correlate to what we are protecting. So like typically, if you take the number of incidents that has happened, right, the number of we kind of present that entire report to finance on everything, starting from blue collar crimes to security incidents to fire hazards to natural calamities to everything, right? All potential incidents are lined up so that they can understand the perspective or the quantum of what we are operating. Otherwise, as you rightly said, the deployment people do not understand, especially in Asia, right? The Asian style deployment is not understood always by EMEA or America. So it is very important to give the context in which we operate. For example, giving them a perspective of how 911 or emergency response service works. That is a very important aspect. We need static deployment because we may not be able to always have that perfect response for every duress call like you may have in the West. So these are the indicators that will justify your business case for either retaining or kind of asking for additional cards. It's there's literally nothing available, as you rightly said. Let's say that internally, let's say there are two incidents, and then let's say there's a false fire alarm. That is not going to help your business case for your office for expansion. So always you need to give a macro level risk for the finance team to understand. Giving them that macro level risk is super important to understand the context in which you're operating. And then I've seen in my personal experience, the moment you give these indicators, sometimes they become appreciative of the fact that you are able to do you're able to handle all these risks
Right,
with
viewers.
this
Now,
kind of so it just go definitely not going to help you anyways.
viewers, you have heard Arun speaking far away from India, and out of his busy schedule, he spared time for this discussion. While you enjoy and learn through such discussion, may I request you to subscribe the channel, make your comments visible, and share with your security professionals. Because ultimately, in ICISS, it is our endeavor and it is our objective to professionalize the professionals. And we keep on conducting such discussions on very important professional matters. Arun, now we are at the end of the discussion, and as takeaway from this discussion, what would you say to our viewers? Summarize the whole discussion and maybe in bullet form share with our viewers the ingredients of successful security team.
Sure. I think the first thing that comes to my mind is uh, always be people centric. Whether you're a manager or an individual, you need to kind of develop and improve your connections with people, because they are the foundation. Today's technology is going to be obsolete tomorrow, so you need to invest only on people, and that is going to make the big difference. Once you kind of have the right people, then you need to develop the right culture so that you enjoy working. It doesn't become a pain, but more like you enjoy, you thrive, you innovate, you improvise, and that is how the ecosystem improves. And the most important thing, at least in my learning, is always have a growth mindset. uh, no matter, you know uh, no matter where you are or what you think you have achieved, if you think you know it all, that is not going to be beneficial for your entire team. So always remember to have a growth mindset, and that is going to kind of have your continuous improvement cycle for the betterment of you as well as your team. Yeah.
Thank you, Arun, and it has been very nice listening to you. Though you don't look that mature and old, but then the sagacity or maturity of thoughts uh, are never related to age. Your very matured and balanced comments are going to be very useful for security professionals, especially those who just started their career. And that is our purpose of starting this series of discussion, security leadership. Because when you have reached the top, there are still certain heights yet to be scaled. And those are the areas for which youngsters would keep themselves motivated, and inspiration would come from professionals like you. Be good, remain active, and share your thoughts, because African saying is that till lions start writing their stories, we will read only the glories and the braveries of hunters. So be a lion and share your thoughts, share your ideas, share your wisdom. And for viewers, it is very, very important for all of us as security professionals to keep our family, our society, our country safe and secure. May you always remain successful in what you do. Keep happy, keep healthy, remain engaged in important tasks which you are doing, securing the nation, securing the assets, securing the society, securing the country. Remain tuned in for our next discussion, which would be on another very important subject. As security professionals, we have always interacted with the safety functionaries. Those safety guys have their own approach. They want everything to be open. And in security, we want everything to be closed. But there is a synergy between safety and security. So next discussion is going to be on this subject. Till the time,